Welcome to this MYCOM OSI webinar on FTTx assurance. Over the next 45 minutes, we'll be talking about creating value from fixed broadband services. We are delighted to have a lovely panel of guests here on the webinar today. So from Analysys Mason, we have Justin van der Land and Denisa Nishiforov. From MYCOM OSI, we have Jitu Raghavendran and Anuj Jain. And then from AWS, we have Imin Guidaben Yaha. So on the right-hand side, you've got this chat bar. If you want to ask any questions to our presenters, pop it in the chat bar and we'll do our best to answer them at the Q&A at the end. I'll just move on to the agenda so you can all see. We've also got some handouts there. You're welcome to download them throughout the course of the webinar. And I think for now, I will hand over to Justin and Denisa from Analysys Mason.
Jack, thank you very much indeed. So I just wanted to start the agenda here, I suppose, just giving a bit of an overview of kind of why this is an interesting topic and why now. Then we're going to go into a little bit of detail about the survey which we carried out on behalf of MYCOM OSI. And Denise is going to go through a few of the key findings we found within that. But firstly, just to sort of go through a couple of graphs, and there's no particular heavy meaning on this, except that we do track CapEx expenditure on FTTx across the globe, and you'll see there's a very definite hype which took place in about 2022 and 2023 is where the sort of the height of capital expenditure went within the FTTx world. It is beginning to slow down, but you'll see the overall coverage and penetration rates will continue as spend keeps going on. So it's been quite expensive. Everyone worries about 5G expenditure, but actually fiber expenditure is extraordinarily high and a big investment for operators. The good news is that fiber is enabling the operators to actually get a premium or at least a higher rate in terms of the service value they can derive from each one of the homes passed, and revenue will tend to drift up. However, looking at the graph on the right-hand side, this is our predictions looking until 2029. Essentially, revenue growth, service revenue growth is pretty flat across the globe. And therefore there is a sort of challenge which the operators have, which is essentially how do they make money or make more money, if you like, when the overall sort of top line growth is pretty static or at least going in an inflationary way. And the only way of really dealing with that is by providing greater margin on the services they offer. And one of the challenges, I suppose, therefore, is how do you deliver these complex new services over a new network at a cost which is lower than you were actually providing for the networks they're replacing, primarily copper-based networks. And so the challenge that we sort of see is, if you can address the OpEx challenge, if you like, in terms of reducing the overall operational costs, therefore you can actually come up with a greater margin over a period of time. So that was sort of just framing up the kind of challenge that we sort of see, a flat growth and the need for operational efficiency in terms of where it's going and where it's going. So we had a survey, and I'm going to let Denisa go through that survey in a bit more detail with you. Denisa, over to you.
Thanks, Justin. Thanks for the macro level introduction. Good afternoon or good morning, everyone, depending where you join us from. My name is Denisa Nishiforov. I am a senior analyst here at Analysys Mason, where I lead on the automated assurance research program, which sits within the operational applications practice. So as Justin mentioned, we conducted a survey to understand the operational efforts related to FTTx rollout and the key challenges that operators face. This was a global survey of 50 tier 1 operators. And while today's focus will be on the findings with regards to the operational challenges, there's a lot more information on the survey and the findings from the survey. And you will find this on the MYCOM's website, where the team also plans to publish some very cool infographics. So please feel free to go and look for these additional insights if you would like more information. So as mentioned, today's focus will be on the operational challenges related to the survey results. What was highlighted was the fact that the biggest operational challenge CSPs are facing is the cost of operations, which is at the top of the graph here highlighted in red. This is because fiber networks are highly complex. They have many interconnected components. Also, the fast rollout that we have touched on in the previous slide is also a factor which adds to the cost of operations. So not only that the networks are highly complex, but the techniques used to lay fiber, for example, can also be very different. So on top of that, this mass build out in the past few years and the associated challenges are leading to faults that are compiling to be quite expensive. Beyond the cost of operation, the survey results show a number of other issues which are all orientated around assurance. The high number of faults was highlighted by 82% of respondents. Deploying fiber networks can involve complex construction and installation processes, which increase the risk of faults, right? So some operators often manage extensive or interconnected networks where there is often an interplay between various technologies and systems, which are increasing the potential for faults. Moving on, 74% of respondents indicated that locating faults and identifying the root cause of these faults is a major issue. Again, this comes down to the architectural complexity of fiber networks, which has components that are being spread across a wide area, which can make it difficult to isolate the exact source of faults. Also, these networks can experience a variety of faults, from fiber cuts to software problems, which can make it problematic sometimes to develop a sort of a one-size-fits-all approach to root cause analysis. SLA management also ranked as a high challenge for CSPs. 64% of them indicated that it's a complex problem for them. This comes down again to the complexity, distributed nature of fiber networks, but also the need to implement a successful framework for SLA management, where the service level objectives and associated KPIs are very well defined, where there's monitoring of performance against SLAs, providing visibility of SLA to customers and proactively addressing any deviation from SLAs, also to also avoid any penalties associated with breach of agreements. These are also important factors. The last challenge that I would like to quickly touch on is the need for enhanced manpower training, which was highlighted by 74% of respondents. Given that FTTx is a relatively new technology, there are diverse rollout techniques. Operators, for example, also have to develop a new ecosystem of partners, new vendors for rollout. For example, in different parts of different countries, that they use different vendors to roll out the networks. Also, the staff may lack familiarity with specific issues, right? However, I think this challenge is expected to be reduced as the technology matures. Over time, also training programs will improve, and also automation will become more prevalent in software and in operational areas. So coming into the automation discussion and the use of AI and the maturity of the closed loop automation, from the survey results, what is really encouraging to see is that operators are putting plans in place to take cost out through automation and closed loop operation. And AI is also being used to address some of these challenges. As a few stats on progress to date, that we've got out of the survey, while 40% of operators have not yet finalized implementing real-time monitoring solutions using AI, 60% of respondents said that they have plans to implement or use AI to help resolve some of the challenges that we've just discussed. And a further 70% of respondents indicated that the most significant use of automation and AI for them is to reduce faults and outages, while 60% plan to use it to retire manual processes. So clear evidence there that AI and automation are in the mind of operators to help them address some of these challenges. And that leads me to the recommendations. First is around the fact that it's clear that assurance is a critical challenge for operators, and this is also directly impacting operational costs, right? Operators have to develop a comprehensive strategy to address assurance, which in turn can significantly reduce expenses, by improving the reliability of the network, becoming more efficient in the operation, and therefore reducing costs while improving service quality. SLA management is also a critical component of the strategy to ensure a reliable and a high quality network that meets customer needs. The second recommendation in terms of use of analytics, AI, and automation capabilities, which are critical in resolving these challenges, and operators should be investing in these capabilities. This will help them to transform their operations, because these capabilities are essential for modern operations, right? Last but not least, the framework for addressing the assurance should be flexible enough to handle other challenges down the line. This means that having a high quality data, it's important, a robust implementation of analytics, AI, and automation, a platform that is robust enough to deliver these solutions, and also important, a partner who is experienced in resolving these kinds of challenges. And with that, I will pass you on to Jitu from MYCOM OSI team. He will be diving into the MYCOM OSI FTTx assurance solution and how this can help overcome some of the specific requirements in the market. Over to you, Jitu.
Thanks, Denisa. Good day, everyone. Thanks for the excellent market research from Analysys Mason, highlighting the key business and functional drivers of FTTx deployments, right? And building on from that, I would like to actually take you through the FTTx assurance and automation solutions. We at MYCOM OSI are addressing how we address the highlighted challenges and the use of AI to support home and enterprise broadband services. I am Jitu Raghavendran, VP of Telco Transformation and Automation / AI Solutions at MYCOM OSI. And just to actually dive into the first piece, we will actually start off with the value that we have been able to actually quantify through the deployment of our FTTx assurance and automation solutions in real CSP environments, by categorizing them into like 5 different areas, right? And to start with, where we actually see is the automation of the consumer services, where we have typically been able to actually achieve 85% reduction in terms of incident handling by looking at 300 plus multi-domain service impacting alarms, all in the end amounting to about $3 million USD cost avoidance per year. And the second pillar being the auto ticketing of those enterprise services, where we have actually seen about 90% reduction in incident handling by automating 99% of those workflow processes, right across the chain. And the third one being the reduction in terms of the customer impacts, right, where we are actually sort of looking at 90% reduction in customer complaints. And fourth one being the zero-touch service operations centers, where we have been able to actually typically achieve about 97% reduction in alarm handling times through the complete automation workflows that we are actually providing. And the last one being improvements in terms of operational efficiency, as well as doubling the network visibility in terms of the incidents that were actually observed, right? All in all, we have been able to actually quantify the actual dollar value to about $6.5 million cost reduction, and significant improvements to the quality of service that the representative CSP in this example that we are actually quoting, which has been quantified through our value realization framework as well. So just to go into a little bit more details on the summary of the 5 different pillars that actually constitute to our FTTx assurance solutions, starting with real-time observability, the second one being the zero-touch automation, and then we'll kind of actually dive into a little bit more on the SLA management capabilities, the customer impact, and how do we actually quantify the real impact of network and services on the customer impacting issues. And finally, we'll close off with what solutions that we are actually offering on AI-driven predictive maintenance, as well as the Gen AI capabilities that we are offering to the market. So starting with the network and service observability. So, the specific problems that we are actually solving over there. And the first one is kind of, end-to-end single pane of glass with network and service real-time observability is the fundamental piece. And how are we actually enabling to kind of do that is through the comprehensive use of FTTx service models that we are able to actually generate, which can then actually also look into a variety of different data sources, right? From multiple data sources such as performance management data, fault management data, probes, topology, etc. So that's how we actually manage to kind of provide that end-to-end visibility of the underlying network, which is actually impacting the services or FTTx, and in this case, with fiber to the home or fiber to the enterprise, fiber to the premise, fiber to the cabinet, everything. And then the second one is to actually look at the identification of real-time passive device faults, such as multiplexers, network access points, OLTs, CPEs, and so on, right? So to which we are actually providing those service models that will actually propagate to providing you all the way down to the OLTs at the ONT level as well, and the CPEs, which are actually impacted, which all actually provide you with faster problem identification through cross-domain correlations as well. The next one, when we actually go into it, is how do we all bring this all together through zero-touch workflow automation, right? So this is where, as the market research was actually kind of indicating, longer RCA times with manual problem resolution, which is all actually contributing to lower operational efficiency and customer experience. Out here, the first and foremost is thanks to the service models that enable us to actually provide that automated RCAs through intelligent correlation of those multiple data sources through our service quality impact analysis for the FTTx networks, right? All the way from auto identification of those issues on the fiber services to auto ticketing, to auto dispatching and auto remediation to actually fix some of those specific issues as well. And over here, we are actually also showing some of those complex automated workflows in the topology analyzer and side by side with the problem analysis capabilities to actually indicate those customer outages with some closed loop automation workflows on how we are integrating through all the rest of the ecosystems as well, right? Which all allows the CSPs to actually go to automation or autonomous network level 3 and 4 through zero-touch knock-sock workflow automation, right? And to the question that was also asked, which I'm actually seeing, that is the problem in finding a root cause analysis of fault. 82% of people responded, is it due to poor service level designs? It's absolutely the case, right? The greater the level of off-the-shelf service models and the greater the use of all the propagation algorithms that we actually are using off the shelf allows you to actually look at the comprehensive root cause analysis. The third major aspect, as I mentioned earlier, is the SLA management. And this is as CSPs are actually getting more mature and offering the services for the wholesale and the enterprise business users, the SLA management is actually a key business requirement. And to provide that SLA management in terms of what commitments they have to their end customers is a key thing to actually provide in that single pane of glass, right? And how do we actually kind of provide those solutions? We provide a comprehensive SLA and a policy management module, which actually enables proactive real-time monitoring of wholesale and enterprise business units, including the likes of IPVPN, direct internet access, PLL, and so on, which is all actually provided by the fiber network, right? And the enterprise portals is actually a key part of it, which provides you with what penalty breaches is actually cost due to those services and proactively identifying which circuits all the way down to the NAPs and the OLTs are actually impacting that specific SLAs. And all of these KQI breaches are then converted into some specific penalty in terms of dollar values and things which you can proactively avoid by also actually providing that in your enterprise customer portals, all guaranteeing better quality of experience, as well as to actually avoid some of those SLA breaches, right? So that's one of the key components of the solution that we are providing. The next one, if we go into some of the customer impacting capabilities, what problems are we actually solving? So this is a key thing, right? When you have network is okay, services are for the fiber services to the home or the premise or the cabinet, everything is fine. But, in terms of the customers which are actually impacted, there is less visibility, the customer is facing those outages and so on. So over here, we have actually developed comprehensive capabilities to specifically looking at specific service impacting, customer impacting alarms on that end-to-end FTTx network. Then looking at the last mile monitoring all the way down to the NAPs and the OLTs and the the passive devices and the CPEs, and also integrating that with some of the the ONUs, for example, and the customers that are actually not getting that service on those specific ports and the NAPs where there are some outage within those services, right? So that's where we are actually kind of providing that proactive identification of those customer issues all the way to the last mile, and then the ability to track where in that whole chain is where the impact is actually caused, which is impacting those customers. We integrate that all in order to also proactively notify those customers, right, in various different forms of those ecosystem. It can be actually a REST API based ecosystem that we have actually modeled for various different systems, or email notifications or SMS and so on, which all actually amounts to better customer experience, as well as to provide some times to actually fix those issues through automated RCAs, that are automated remediation capabilities that are inbuilt into our solutions. And lastly, I would like to actually touch on the AI-based predictive management and Gen AI capabilities, right? And I mean, this is where some of the there are two parts to the machine learning and the Gen AI capabilities that we've got. The first part is actually looking at the network performance forecasting and the anomaly detection of the fiber or the FTTx services, which is offered to your customers. And how do you then actually look into the the previous versions of it was all threshold crossing alarms, proactively warn which network elements on OLTs, ONUs, and CPEs are being impacted. Out here, we use some comprehensive predictive modeling and machine learning techniques in order to identify those outages to start with, and also providing some simultaneous multi-lens anomaly detection algorithms for affected ports, IP, VLANs, and so on, through the usage of multi-large language models, using generative AI techniques, using natural language prompts as well, where we are also partnering with AWS, and thanks to Bedrock integration to query complex data sets with tabular textual summaries. This is fundamentally where you talk to your network in, through the generative AI capabilities to enable faster ad hoc analysis, as well as to actually provide what recommendations need to be put in order to actually go fix those specific network issues and so on. And we'll actually cover a little bit more of those Gen AI capabilities with AWS, with Iman during her presentation as well. But that's fundamentally the 5 major pillars in terms of how we are actually providing major solutions on FTTx assurance and automation. We'll also actually provide a short demo, for which I'll actually pass this over to my colleague Anuj, who will give you a quick overview in the form of a real demo that we are offering to the market and the customers. Over to you, Anuj.
Hi, everyone. I think we already discussed that the key problem area and the solutions in FTTx assurance. Primary focus is cost of operation. To reduce the cost of operations, we need to have a assurance solution with key capabilities like network observability, where we can see how the network is connected end to end. It could be inter-domain, and any change in the network, any link is broken or is reconfigured, it needs to be refreshed automatically. It should work on the latest data set, and the user should have the capability to control, to define the key KQIs, which are the service impacting or the customer impacting. And along with that, they can configure the alarms, how they basically control the alarms that need to be propagated to analyze the impact, right? Not all service alarms are impacting. The another part is the visibility of the network quality, right? There are 2 perspectives. One is the service quality and the one is the customer dimension. So tool should have the visibility on both the dimensions. Along with that, it should have the root cause capability. right? If there's any degradation in the service or the customer quality of service, we should be able to identify where is the root cause. The root cause could be in the 2 dimensions, either in the KPIs and the KQIs, or is the fault alarms, or maybe the fault alarm is leading to the KQI degradation. So we should have the capability to visualize that very quickly. The next step is if I can automate the root cause analysis itself, right? So then to make it faster, reduce FTTx, I should have a tool which can highlight me the root cause automatically. Along with that, what are the affected customers or the elements because of the network issues? Not just that, I should be able to do the auto ticketing, right? Even for the passive devices, right? There are passive devices in the access side of the FTTx where we don't have the PM and FM. So I should be able to detect the issues and auto ticket those kind of elements also. So it need to be an end-to-end visibility. Visibility can be in the another form where we can have the topological view. So we can have the topology end-to-end. We can see this network element is impacted and what are the neighboring elements connected to it, which customers are impacted. I can visualize it very easily. So it will be easier for the operations team to analyze their network. They can see the alarms, the KPI, KQIs, all related information in a single view. And the last step is the zero trust operation, where I can basically identify the root cause, then I can remediate that part also. So I can log in into the EMS system and then take the appropriate action based on the root cause. So for example, the simple case will be, I need to reset a particular router or the port of the router. So I can do that easily. And even further, basically using the Gen AI, we can do talk to network, we can analyze, we can get the ad hoc analytics data, like if my OLT is down, what all wireless site or the customers will be impacted, it can give you the results very quickly. I think that's for all from my side to achieve the cost of operations reductions. Now we talk about the SaaS model, and I'm passing mic to Iman. She can talk about more on the SaaS. Thank you.
Thank you, Anush. So, hi everyone. Good afternoon and good morning for everyone. I'm Principal IAML Solution Architect on the Telco IBU at AWS, specialized in the network use cases and the network data. I'm going to talk about the SaaS model or SaaSification of the MYCOM OSI assurance framework and share with you also touch base on the AI part and the advantages of having cloudified assurance MYCOM OSI in AWS Cloud. So let me start. So first of all, before speaking about the SaaS model in general, let's talk about the cloud itself. What are the advantages of having cloudified application and SaaS model running on the cloud? So first of all is the time to market. So by the time to market, while you are running your application on the cloud, you are having faster access to new functionalities, to new features, and having your customer and user accessing those new features easily by their deployment into containers and accessing the managed services enabled in the cloud. The deployment is faster. The cloud is made in a way that the services are integrated all together so that you can use the built-in databases along with the application part and make sure that all of this is available to the end user. The second criteria or advantage is the elasticity. So of course, the network is meant to scale and meant to cover more geographical area, more subscribers, and more features to be offered to the end user. And the elasticity of the cloud help you to have this without over provisioning and without let's say, heavy estimation from the start. So you can benefit from, you start with what you know, and then you scale based on the evolution of your network, the number of subscribers, and the need that you are having without over provisioning. The third pillar is the resiliency. Of course, here the most important feature of the assurance framework is to ensure the availability of the services to the user and make sure that if there are issues, alarm and root cause analysis, it's to anticipate the best case or to be very reactive in real time. So the resiliency here is helping to have those services available among different regions and different availability zone to make sure that the assurance tool is always available to manage the end user network and make sure that this quality of service is maintained through the different monitoring tools and the AI as G2 was presenting. So the SaaS mode is, or the SaaSification of the MYCOM OSI assurance tool is benefiting from those pillar of the cloud. And of course, it is based on the pay as you go without over provisioning and without a hard estimation, as I was mentioning. So in AWS, it's 18 years of working with these kind of cloudified architecture with different partners and millions of customers. The availability zone and the region are over 34 regions here that are helping to distribute the availability of the services worldwide, maintaining the availability of the tools to the end users to maintain the assurance framework and the monitoring of the network in general. And of course, the security is very important when it comes to the network, to the different businesses, but to the network in particular, because this is all about network data that it's manipulated and needs to be secured in different dimensions. So here it's more than 300 plus feature, especially for the security, to make sure that the assurance tool that is certified is benefiting from all the security features enabled in the cloud. So let's now touch base on the SaaS assurance that it's cloudified in the network. So different challenges that could be benefiting from the cloudification of the MYCOM OSI tool. So first of all is the quality assurance. So here, as you know, the network is growing. You will have, first of all, you already have a lot of ONT, a lot of OLTs, and you will always be growing and have a new network node that will be added to the network. You need to make sure that you have your data always collected from those network nodes. You need to maintain that you have your correlation up and running, and this is all need to be happening in a smooth way. So with the cloudification of the SaaS or having a SaaS platform in the cloud, you will be benefiting from the managed services that are enabling the AI ML, like for example, SageMaker or Bedrock, as Jitu was mentioning. Those services are meant to scale, are data driven in general. So the more data you feed, the more insights you are going to extract without you changing your architecture all the time. So it is meant to host different volume of data and different schema and cope with heterogeneity of the network data in general. The capacity optimization here, it's also another type of, let's say, AI problem or machine learning problem. So it's how you can go beyond the static definition of the point capacity, which could be done at the start, and you want to have capacity planning or dimensioning adjustment over the evolution of the network, and to make sure that you can go from static definition of your network capacity to a capacity that is adjusted or recommended by different machine learning and AI model. And here also the cloud-based analytics and the cloud-based AI in general are meant to enable such feature by, of course, based on the data that is collected and ingested, and from there recommending based on the detection of the pattern and from the previous, for example, consumption, and from there recommend the capacity changes and adjustment that need to be done. Last but not least, it's all about accessing the latest feature of AI ML analytics visualization directly by having the platform deployed in the cloud, and of course minimizing a lot of IT investment and enrichment, because you are moving. I mean, we are moving all toward what I can call AI continuum. So it's AI and generative AI, and you want to enrich your platform with smooth integration of the different features together. So this is what the certification will enable you by accessing different features as they are appearing and integrating them easily without heavy development or reviewing the whole architecture. So those are let's say short list of the key feature that you could have while having the MYCOM OSI platform in the cloud. Now, last but not least, as you know, since 1 year now, we have the generative AI transforming the different telco industry, and in particular the network, and in particular the assurance domain, and here for the FTTH. So the generative AI is already, a type of machine learning that is based on the transformer type of architecture, and it is meant to enable the at least in the assurance domain, the consolidation of the information. You're going to have alarm that are correlated with different techniques, as Jitu was mentioning, from the predictive network maintenance, the insights that are collected, the RCA that is identified. The generative AI will help to access those different insights and share a consolidated report about what is happening in the network in an easy way. Is like enabling the talk to your network mode. And this is enabled by a service called Amazon Bedrock. And Amazon Bedrock, it's a service with different features. So when I say a different feature, is kind of framework that includes models. The models can be from open source, from model provider, as well model that you can customize. And in Amazon Bedrock, you will be accessing your PM data, your FM data, your topology information, the prediction that you have with PNM, with predictive network maintenance, and it can consolidate for you different aspects together, depending on the expectation, of course, of the NOC team. In addition to the Bedrock, it's also the SageMaker. SageMaker is the AI framework. So here you will have built-in model from machine learning that can cope for forecasting, for anomaly detection, for classification, for different ML tasks. And both framework are communicating and integrated together. So you can reach the AWS AI continuum by combining those two framework together. And of course, both of them are coping with the heterogeneity of the data, which is the nature of the network data that which are fed to the assurance tool. So it can go for tabular data, for textual data, for graph representation of the topology as a graph. So it can cope with different schema and different data format to extract the insight, to enable the extraction of the insight for the NOC team, and of course help the field engineer to optimize their RCA actuation, etc. So with that, I'll pass back to Jack.
Thanks very much, Eamon. We're running perfectly to time again. This is lovely. So we've had a few questions come in through the course of the webinar. Thank you to all our presenters so far. Let's start with, I'll start with one for G2. So how are you getting data from passive devices, their faults or their performance issues? That's for you, G2.
Oh, hi. Okay. Yeah. So, fundamentally, we are actually sort of looking at the topology, right? When we are checking with respect to the NAPs, which are actually connected to the ONUs and then to the OLT ports. So the various versions of that topology that we are, thanks to the unified network inventory and topology that we are actually modeling, including those passive devices. So that whole connectivity from the ONU to OLT port to the NAP devices, and then correlations between the different data sources on the service impacting alarms, which actually leads to customer impacting and things, right? And that's how we then actually use those service models to dynamically actually inject those topologies in order to look at the service impact analysis as well as the customer impact analysis to look at specifically if the NAP as a passive device is actually impacting any of your FTTx services or not. That's the way we actually kind of, and then we also do the auto ticketing and the auto notifications through those service models that we are actually modeling in that.
Cool, thank you very much. So we've got another question that was kind of touched on by G2 earlier on, but I'm going to direct this towards Justin and Denisa from Analysys Mason. So in your survey results, 82% of people said the problem in finding the root cause of a fault was a major issue. Now, the question is this due to a poor service level design, improper inventory, etc.? What are your thoughts?
Yes, thanks. So actually, Jitu already touched on it in his presentation briefly, and definitely inadequate SLAs are definitely an issue. If the service level agreements are not clearly defined or not aligned with the actual requirements of the network, it can be difficult to pinpoint the exact cause of the fault, right? Also, the complex network topology with multiple, already touched on multiple interconnected components can make it challenging to isolate the source of the faults. Lack of visibility, where there's insufficient visibility into the network performance and health, can hinder fault diagnosis. And this can also be due to lack of advanced monitoring and diagnostic tools that can make it difficult to identify the root cause of faults. And I would say another issue could be also due to poor data quality or incomplete data that can hinder fault analysis. I don't know if Justin, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think the only thing I'd probably add to that set of issues would be that, of course, we're dealing with quite a new technology here. So, I mean, all the old tricks have to be kind of relearned on the new fiber network. And there's training to be done. There are different tooling which needs to be used and utilized to go and find out exactly what the root cause is as well, particularly on some of the fiber network. So I think that might be another area for it. And things fail in slightly different ways to, you know, if we're comparing this with copper particularly. There's a different sort of failing technique which goes on, and it can be more. There's probably less feedback in many ways. You might get off a dead fiber network than you would off a failing or slightly failing copper one. So I think it's a combination of things, but I think mainly it's about just understanding the technology. And to one of the points which Denise brought up and the survey brought out was staff training, and I think that's probably one of the key areas which needs to be kind of addressed with this. But we kind of expect this to be as it is for a period, and then over time to be improved as training gets better and understanding of how networks work.
Maybe I can also, thanks guys, I can also add to that in terms of the training requirements as well as the quality of data and how we are actually addressing some of those gaps within the data, right? So when we actually implement some of those off-the-shelf service models, you know, the comprehensive, you saw in one of my screenshots with, you know, the whole unified inventory and topology catering to CPUs, to ONUs, to NAP ports, to splitters, to LCP, and then the aggregator routers with BNG devices. And typically, you know, that whole dynamicity in terms of the service models allows us to actually, you know, constantly improve the accuracy of those RCAs, because, you know, from where we actually started with various different projects with the implementation of the next generation FTTx networks, we've been able to actually like specifically identify those fiber issues between OLT, NAP, and ONU links, and then highlight slightest degradations in customer quality of service, which is actually that whole end-to-end quality of service, linking it all the way to SLAs, is actually being made possible through those CFSs, the customer-facing services, with the underlying impact of those network services. And then the whole integrations to ecosystems with ticketing and assignments to those CFSs, and initiating it all the way down to the customers that where the specific network elements are actually impacting. That's how we have been, you know, incrementally improve that data quality through the usage of the interfaces that's actually going into our unified network inventory and topology through the service models, and then automation through the rest of the ecosystem to improve the root cause analysis.
Cool. Thank you very much. We've got another question in from Pedro. Thank you for the question. I think we'll direct this to you, G2, first. So how to reach trust on closed loop fault resolution from the operators? Would you start with open loop, and once results seem relevant, would you then close the loop?
Yeah, that's a good question. So yeah, I mean, in terms of our phase one of those has kind of been like, you know, rule-based modeling and so on. That's where we actually started off, right? To look at the underlying network resources, look at the specific rules that are affecting the FTTx services from a performance management point of view. And the second one within that open loop is to actually integrate the service impacting alarms. So we have a library of over 300 service impacting alarms, which are actually causing issues to the end customers on the fiber services, if you like. And the third one is the policy management, right? The whole policy management that we have got, you know, has improved, has enhanced over the time. And now that off-the-shelf catalog actually sort of specifically points to all of the related FTTx related issues, which provides you with some remediation capabilities. And that's all part of the semi-automatic open loop operations. And now, you know, in the last year and a half or so, we've been able to actually then automate once you actually derive that confidence and the accuracy levels of it. And then also looking at the tickets, right, where people are actually closing those tickets because of the specific root causes, and then injecting that tickets and correlating that with our performance fault, as well as the inventory and topology. We've been able to actually perfect that in terms of looking at which of those remediation policies are actually specifically impacting those fiber issues. And now we are, of course, actually also feeding that into RCA correlations with machine learning techniques as well as we move along.
Thanks so much, Jitu. Iman, I've got one for you. What AI models are offered by AWS to help FTTx deployments and their performance?
Yeah, thank you, Jack, for the question. So basically, when we're talking about AI model in the context of assurance, as Jitu was mentioning in his presentation, it can be forecasting to anticipate the degradation based on the KPIs, monitoring and forecasting. Here we have built-in model called DeepAir that it's widely used for the network data, and from there you can detect the deviation in advance. It depends on the time frame with which you are forecasting. It can be also a classification, if, for example, incident or non-incident. And here we have XGBoost, which is a known open source model that it's built in SageMaker that you can use and also do the classification for the incident. It can be in general time series anomaly detection or a detection of deviation in real time, or as I said, forecasting. So there are many tasks that are covered going until the reinforcement learning for example, that could be used for the closed loop. So those are the three that are all the time coming back when you talk about assurance, forecasting, anomaly detection, and the reinforcement learning as future step for the closed loop.
Thanks very much, Iman. I think we've got time for one more question. So Jitu, I'll pose this one to you. What level of automation have you achieved with your solution?
Yeah, so as we were actually proposing the very first slide in my presentation on on different dimensions, right? So we've been able to actually look at 86% of those workflow processes with respect to FTTx consumer services have been automated with 300 plus service impacting alarms that we are modeling. So that's one level of automation. And then if you look at the auto ticketing of those enterprise services specifically, right? We talked about fixed broadband services and then enterprise services. 99% automation is what we have actually achieved for the automated ticketing right from end to end, which is actually servicing those enterprise services, right? That's about 99%. Then the zero touch NOC, right? We're also looking at automation from an alarm reduction, handling times, and so on. That's about 97% automation that we have actually achieved in those areas. So those pretty mature deployments. This is where we've actually sort of gotten to through the implementation of advanced use cases in this area. And also, we have also been able to actually quantify the automations through operational efficiency improvements, as well as how we have improved the quality of service for the end users and so on.
That about wraps up the webinar. Thank you very much to all our presenters and to all our attendees as well. I will bring a call to action up on screen. If you would like to visit MYCOM OSI's FTTx Assurance Solution page, there's a link there. I should also note that in the next couple of weeks, we'll be sharing via email the results from that Analysys Mason survey. So by taking part in this webinar and attending, you'll get results of that through your inbox. But yeah, I think that's about it, really. Do download any handouts you like from the right-hand side. A big thank you to all our guests, and thank you to those that have attended the webinar today. With that, I think we'll all say goodbye and have a nice rest of your day.
Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.